Welcome to the AP podcast. Today we have Abe Oloko with us tuning in. Welcome, Abe.
How's it going, guys? How are you?
Awesome, man. Hey, glad to have you on the show. So what we're going to do today is really go through how Abe got started with his fitness journey. He's a high-level athlete in the NPC division. He's actually going to the Nationals and plays top 15 with a huge class, about 60 guys. So Abe knows what he's doing. He's been competing now for a little while. So, yeah, Abe, what I want you to do is kind of give us a little rundown. Give us your story of how you got into the fitness industry.
Yeah, sure thing, man. Honestly, it all started, I'd say about junior high, going into high school. And it started in the story itself is pretty funny. So, my best friend at the time, he comes over one day, and we're messing around doing whatever. And he has this bright idea of doing, like a push-up contest. So, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I wasn't active at all at this time, not at all. So I'm like, yeah, whatever we'll do, we'll do whatever. So, and I remember let's say I did about 5 or 6, and I dropped down and I collapsed and I couldn't get up, you know.
Yeah.
And he obviously won, so he's laughing, and in my mind I'm thinking, like, is this really, like, am I really this, like, am I really this weak,
Mhm.
So I mull it over a little bit. 2 or 3 weeks pass or whatever, and I go up to my dad, and he's on the couch reading the newspaper, and I look at him. I'm like, Dad, I think I want to get stronger, you know. And he kind of looks at me. He's like, well, that's fine if that's what you want to do, and whatever. So a few weeks later, he comes back and he gets me my first ever dumbbell. It was a pair of dumbbells, and pair of 8-pound dumbbells that he got from a garage sale, and he gives them to me, and I'm ecstatic, dude. I'm like, this is I'm gonna start the journey. I'm gonna get strong and everything. And I remember taking them upstairs. I'd never been so out of breath in my life, dude. Once I got up those stairs with the 8 pounds, 8 pounds, that was it. And
Mhm.
once I got up those stairs, heart was racing and everything, and and I knew, like, I had a lot of work ahead of me. So that's kind of how things got started. I kind of got really active after that. I used those dumbbells a lot. I was sitting on the couch watching TV, just curling,
Yeah.
just doing whatever I could, just to stimulate, just to get, things moving. So, and calisthenics were really huge at the early, when I started. I didn't really know too much about the gym lifestyle, so I really avoided the gym. Honestly, a lot of it was because I was intimidated myself.
Mhm.
So I really kind of avoided going to the gym, and I kind of, stuck with what I knew at home. I watched a few guys on YouTube, and I learned a little bit from them. I did a lot of pull-ups. I bought one of those pull-up bars. I think I still have it somewhere in the garage or something. But I
Yeah.
bought, yeah, calisthenics king, all day. So I did a little bit of that, and you know, progress didn't come quick, but I slowly but surely. So that passed. High school, did that all throughout high school, 3 years of high school. And then when I really started getting into it was, I want to say, sophomore year of college. That was when I really decided, hey, I think I've done enough with, I've done all I can with calisthenics. So I think it's time to start moving, to the next level, actually go to the gym and actually, you know, do stuff with free weights and things like that. So I got a membership. I went to Michigan State University. I graduated last year, so I got a membership at Powerhouse Gym East Lansing, which is the main gym for the kids that go to Michigan State. So I got a membership there, and let's see, and yeah, I really, I started going with three buddies of mine. We lived in the dorms. It was kind of like a 3-man squad type of thing. We each motivated each other, so we'd walk to the gym every day. We kind of pick each other up when we're feeling down. The three of us kind of going through the motions together. Hitting the gym, learning off each other, because we were all beginners at that point. With the gym and aspects of the gym, we all didn't know what we were kind of doing, kind of fumbling around, trying to get as much information as we could. So We did that slowly but surely. The months went by. The three-man group, turned to two, and then the two-man group. All of a sudden, I find myself, I look to my side. I'm the only one.
That's
my,
why
bo-
you're
my,
racing though.
right, my boys are gone.
That's funny.
And it's not. Life happens. You realize that this isn't something that a lot of people like when people give excuses, and I don't like to, it's understandable, because life happens, not everybody has the time to give, 1.5, 2, 3 hours, whatever, how long it takes every day, the consistency, it's hard for people.
Yeah, bodybuilding is kind of a lonely sport in a way.
Exactly. Very lonely sport, very lonely. And yeah, like three turned to two, and then I found myself being the only one, walking in the gym, which was fine and everything. I was able to motivate myself in a way. A big thing that I feel like helped me as well was I wasn't a very big partier throughout college, so I didn't drink alcohol. Actually, I haven't drank. I never drank alcohol. I only drank once in my life, and that was when I turned 21, as kind of like a rite of passage type of thing.
Mhm.
So um, I feel like that really helped out a
Yeah,
lot.
that's crazy, dude. Yeah, no, I think so too. A lot of people try to fit in their macros or whatever, but it's like the effects that it has on your digestion and everything, and
Exactly.
absorbing nutrients is yeah, by far.
Exactly. So I figured that, I don't really do, a lot of the conventional college things that college kids did, for fun. I didn't really do that. I was honestly the kid that was in the gym, 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night on a Friday, when everybody's out partying, doing whatever, it'd be me and a few other people, just grinding it out in the gym. So, did that for about 2 years, slowly made progress. Um, and honestly, it was the number one thing I can attribute that to is consistency. And I I preach that day in and day out. It's really it, if there's one thing you can be, counting your macros and doing all that is good. The person that does that is good, but the person that's going to make the most progress, in my opinion, is the person that's the most consistent. Even if they're not completely 100% on top of, their numbers or their diet or things, if as long as they're consistent, they're in the long run going to make more progress than the person that is counting their numbers, but they're not consistent about it. You know what I'm saying?
I agree 100%. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, I agree because a lot of people will jump around, they'll do all this stuff, they'll fall off, and on a weekend, do you have
Exactly.
binging and all that stuff. And
Exactly.
I noticed for sure in any sort of prep or off season I've done, consistency will always outweigh uh, the strategy that you have
Exactly.
for sure.
Exactly.
But yeah. So I guess what I want to ask you, you started out with calisthenics. I really kind of want to ask you, the importance of that, or how much of an effect you think that had on you building your base. How in depth did you get into it? I've never really went into that with my viewers at all. So maybe kind of give us a background of some stuff you did for calisthenics. Obviously body
Yeah.
weight stuff, but I mean, like, go through kind of importance what you started out with, because a lot of people listening right now probably are just starting out.
Yeah, sure thing. I started out honestly what, you know, I feel like most people do. I went on YouTube. I didn't know anything. I went on YouTube. I typed in home workouts because, like I said, I was kind of intimidated of the gym. So I wanted to see how much progress I could kind of make, in the privacy of my own home, that type of thing. So I did that. I did a lot of push-ups. I bought one of those weighted vests. I got them. I got it on Amazon. It was about $40. Um, I think it was about a 40-pound weight vest with 40 pounds added to my current body weight. And I
Mhm.
did a bunch of push-ups with that on. I did pull-ups with the bar that I bought and the vest on top of that. So yeah, just a bunch of stuff that I could do at home. The dips, I would bring two chairs together, dining room chairs, and I'd try to do dips on top of that, which I don't recommend, by the way. That's very dangerous. So don't try to do that without proper, precautions first. So, um, but yeah, calisthenics, the big three I'd say were push-ups, pull-ups, and dips.
And
Was
you did that for I want to say 4, 6 years almost then.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that throughout the end of junior high to the end of high school. So about 4 years. Yeah. Did that
Mhm.
for about 4 years. Yeah.
4 years. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people think that you can't make gains. You can only make gains with the weights and all this crazy heavy lifting. And I mean, I believe in the stuff, obviously, but I mean,
Mhm.
the base and getting into it, I think you can make a ton of gains with just body weight stuff.
Oh, no doubt,
Yeah.
dude. Definitely.
Yeah, really
Definitely.
focusing on your nutrition too. And tell us about that. When did you really start getting serious about your nutrition?
Yeah. So I'd say when I really started getting really into the nutrition was when I started getting into competing as well. So that started I did my first show 2015. That was in Kalamazoo, and that was my junior year of college. So that was a year after I started lifting at the gym. And to be honest with you, man, I didn't really like the idea of competing at first, um, because I didn't really see the point of it. To
I know a lot of people don't, still don't.
you know, a friend of mine just kind of brought it up in passing, in conversation, and I would look at some of those guys, and I'd actually like chuckle, I'd be like, look at this guy, shirt off, yeah, they look good, but I didn't see the point of it myself,
Mhm, mhm,
so.
mhm.
And another thing too was that I didn't think I could achieve that. I'm looking at some of these guys, I'm like, I can't look like this, like I didn't, I've only been lifting for a year, like, I can't reach this level. These guys are. I always looked at it like these guys were so far ahead of me. So I didn't think that it was something that I could possibly attain or do at that point in time. So, but slowly but surely, a lot of people kept coming up to me like, "Hey, man, wow, you look pretty good, this and that." In my mind, I'm still the same skinny kid that started, 5 years ago, calisthenics, whatever. So, but more and more slowly, but surely people kept coming up to me and, letting me know that, I do have, I guess I had they say, I have what did they say? Like I have but the body for it, the talent for it. So, I'm blowing them off in my mind. I'm kind of like, yeah, yeah, thank you, whatever, you know. But then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I might as well give it a shot. Like, what is there to lose?
Mhm.
And I figured that it'd be worth a shot. So I do my research. I get the NPC card. I decided to kind of test the waters a little bit and do the smallest show that I could do, just to kind of see, because I didn't know it was a different world I was going into. So
Yeah.
just to kind of see what I was getting myself in store. So I did that. Um, I hired a coach for my very first one, to help me with the nutrition and things like that. I learned about my macros. I did research on that, and I was already interested in this stuff because I knew that this was what you needed to do in order to get the most results, the most bang out of your buck.
Mhm.
Going to the gym and things like that. So I already had an interest in it. I just needed somebody to kind of propel me
Mhm.
into that lifestyle,
Yeah.
of counting macros and eating, nutritious whole dense foods and things like that.
Yeah.
So I hired a coach. Luckily, my best friend, Charles, a good friend of mine, he actually did the show with me. And if there's anything I can recommend, is at least for your very first show, if you're interested in competing, try to do it with, a friend, or try to do it with a team or somebody else. It just makes it that much easier because
Yeah.
you guys can feed off each other.
Mhm.
You know, the
Yeah.
days where it one of you doesn't want to go, you can motivate that other person to kind of, it's kind of a pick me up. You see your buddy working, you're going to have to compete against him. So you get your, butt up and start working too. So,
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I did the same when I started competing, and just get on a team and
mhm.
locally, and we would all be at the gym. And if you weren't there, you would get in a text. You'd be like, "Hey man, where are you at?" Yeah, it wasn't
Right,
good. So
right,
it's a good accountability source. I completely agree.
right.
But
Definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, nutrition was good. I got, I got all my information, about that. A lot of it was self-research as well. I really picked a lot of stuff from YouTube was a big source. I read a lot of articles online. Um, I did a lot of research to really get the nutrition aspect of things down.
And what
And
did you learn? What did you what are some quick tips for like first starting out? Maybe you are wanting to compete, but maybe you're just trying to, make some muscle gains and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What were the kind of the first steps that you took into trying to create your own macro plan or just your actual just daily routine of eating?
Yeah. So number one, I would say that I learned this pretty quickly too, was that protein is key. Protein is key. Protein is the main. If if you don't eat anything throughout the day, at least get your protein in. In terms of building muscle, it it's pretty much it's a prerequisite. You have to get your protein in. You have to get your protein in. That should be the number one rule cemented in your head. If you're trying to make hypertrophy gains, muscle gains, protein should be the primary macronutrient. It's not the only one that's important, but
Hmm.
it should be the one that you give priority to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. If
Mhm.
anything, get your protein in, man. Save that muscle as much as you can.
Right. So, and I kind of knew that a little bit going into as well, but I didn't realize how important it was to keep your protein, high, or how important it was to get adequate amounts of protein. I always thought I got enough. I always thought I got, or I should say, I always ate a lot less than I thought I needed. I needed a lot more than I ate. So,
Yeah, and
and
I noticed that with a lot of competitors too we're I mean, when I coach people, I'm working them. I'm rather have them eating more and training more to try to, create higher metabolism and obviously more muscle gain. So definitely I think people underfeed themselves in the beginning. And
exactly,
then when they get to
exactly,
the end, they don't really know where to go.
exactly. And you're kind of stuck in that loop. But definitely protein is key, number one.
Okay. Yeah, protein's key. And then you kind of go into the foods that you were eating on prep. What was kind of like a basis of that?
Yeah, so my family's big on rice. We're from Africa, so rice is a staple for us.
Mhm.
Um, and luckily that was already a big rice is already a big bodybuilding food. It's a good carb source. Very digestible, easily digestible. Your body handles it well. It doesn't give you any. Most people, it's not gluten intolerant. You don't got to worry about all that with rice. So it was a primary carb for me for my first show. And I had no problem doing that because I already ate so much of it to begin with. It wasn't anything, new for me.
Yeah.
So rice was my main kind of carb source, energy source. Um, I didn't really put for my first show. I didn't really give enough importance to the fact that I should have had micronutrients in my diet, which I know now is really, a major thing. But I didn't really, put that into account. I knew you were supposed to eat your vegetables and everything, but I didn't really give that priority, which it should be.
Mhm.
So micronutrients are key. You get those out of vegetables, fruits, um, nutrient dense foods like sweet potatoes. Um, what else can we name? Pineapple, all types of, very nutrient whole foods. You get a lot of micronutrients out of that. And micronutrients are, if not just as important, honestly, if not more than the macronutrients,
Mhm.
because that's what is happening at the cellular level. The micronutrients are helping, with cell division and, keeping everything in check. So you actually make the most use of your time at the gym,
Exactly.
of
No, I
the
agree.
muscle that. So
Oh, yeah, no, I agree 100%. What was I gonna ask you, uh, what do you prefer macros prepping for a show, or do you prefer a laid out plan that's like a consistent basis of a schedule every week or whenever you change your phase? What kind of work best for you? What do you recommend for people and why?
I started with macros. My first coach started me off with macros, and I've been doing that ever since then. It hasn't really been. I didn't mind macros because I knew that the good thing about macros is that if a fit your macros is really popular and everything, but the thing is that it works to a certain extent, but you have to make sure that you get all your micronutrients and things like that in there. But the good thing about that it was that it didn't really limit me to my diet. I knew that as long as I got my numbers down and I knew what numbers I had to hit, that the world is kind of your oyster in that sense, that you're able to kind of eat what you want, pertaining that it does actually fit into those macros, into those numbers. And it's obviously not a free for all, go pig out or eat, buffet, whatever. But you have to make the smart. It's good because you have to make the smart choices that let you know that, for example, I use mass gainer for an example. I personally don't like them because, yeah, they're good for bulking up, but the fact that the macros are so misconstrued, there's like 50 grams of carbs, but there's only like, let's say 20 grams of protein, you know? And that's not a very versatile macronutrient profile.
Mhm.
You can only use about 2 scoops and then you're at your carb limit for the day, let's say. And you haven't really hit your protein yet. So for the rest of the day, you got to get that protein in. And it doesn't really help out. Learned that I learned that the hard way actually, because I tried to fit mass gainer in my first prep, and it wasn't really working out with my macros really much. So I couldn't really utilize that. So I learned that I had to make the smart decisions on what to use for foods to hit my numbers, and I learned that if you fit your macros isn't automatically mean that you're able to kind of just have the freedom to eat what you want. It's if it fit your macros to a certain extent. You know.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
No, I agree 100%. A lot of people use the if it fits your macros for them eating Pop Tarts and junk and stuff.
Exactly.
Like you said, the micronutrients are so huge, and
Huge.
also the food volume, especially at the end of prep. I mean, you could do if it fits your macros all you want, but I don't think you're going to be wanting a Pop Tart at the very end. You've got that much carbs for the day. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
So, but but yeah, so I guess you've been going through macros,
Mhm.
and I wanted to kind of ask you, since you were on the national stage, placed top 15, what was that prep like? Like, give us an insight to be at that level, the amount of
Mhm.
training, the amount of cardio, maybe the strictness of food, maybe even like you can go into supplementation of like, whatever pre-workouts or whatever you're taking for fat burners and stuff. Just kind of give us like a lay down, and also how much you think genetics play a role at that point, at that level. You know what I mean?
Um, honestly, luckily enough, I did pretty well my first 2 shows. So I was lucky enough to place first in both of them. And I will say this: then once there's a really big difference between local and national.
Mhm.
Michigan is very small. Michigan is not a competitive state at all. So to be good in Michigan is not really. You can be good in Michigan, but you really realize how big the world is once you step on the national stage. Nationals, everybody's on point. Everybody looks phenomenal. Everybody is on top of their diet, on top of their training, on top of everything because they're all trying to reach that pro level. They're all trying to go pro.
Mhm.
So um, I will say that I brought a lot more intensity during prep for the national show. For junior nationals, the intensity was definitely a lot higher than my first 2 of them, just because I knew what was at stake.
Mhm.
So intensity was very high. My diet was, I would say, immaculate. I made sure I hit every gram, every macronutrient to the letter. I drop a, I drop a little thing of rice, I'd pick it up and eat it because that was part of my macros.
That's awesome, dude.
you know I made sure that I had left no stone unturned because I wanted to go up there and realize that even if I lost, I knew that I'd done everything in my power that was possible for me to do. you know
Mhm. Mhm.
so um but yeah, it's night and day, dude. It's night and day. It's night and day. The competition is just fierce. um a lot of people are gunning for that top spot, and it's tough. It's tough. But I will say that it teaches you that it teaches you discipline on top of it. If anything, it teaches you to be disciplined with your prep because you know what you like. the thing I tell people is that nobody else up there knows what they've put in except you. You know how many hours you put in the gym. You know if you've been hitting your macro. Nobody else knows that but you. You can have a coach. You can have, you can check in with your coach. You can check in with your trainer or whatever. But at the end of the day, you know yourself if you've hit your, if you've done everything that you needed to do to, get to where you need to get.
Yeah.
So it was definitely it was a fun experience. Um, I was I won't lie, I was a bit bummed out because I do know that I put 110% into everything that uh, pertained to that prep. So I was a bit bummed out that I didn't get crack the top 10, but
Mhm.
it's just one of those things that happens.
Mhm.
And I just know that it wasn't really a lot of it was because that I wasn't I wasn't mature enough yet. There's something called muscle maturity I don't quite have yet. So that was really what held me back. But I know what the improvements that I have to make to if I do step on nationals again, I know what I have to do to kind of get better. So and I'm ready to kind of do that when that time comes.
Yeah, yeah. What is your plan now with that? Are you trying to do another national show?
Yeah, so now I have to get requalified because my qualification has kind of run out for this year. So I have to do another local show to get requalified to step on junior nationals again. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm probably going to do a local show sometime later this year and maybe hit up junior nationals again next year. So I'm going to give myself a good amount of time to really kind of bulk up and grow and kind of tackle junior nationals again, with even greater intensity, greater focus, greater drive, and just kind of see where that, hopefully bump up my placing from there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think that a lot of people go in and out of shows pretty rapidly, and they'll do back to back to back.
Mhm.
I actually did that when I was competing, but I noticed that um, the amount of gains obviously kind of depends because when you're in prep mode, like yeah, it's fun. The journey is awesome. At the end, you're just like, shit, I want to be done. like you want to get on stage, you feel amazing, but you're like, all right, you know what? I'm excited for this bulk, right? And then, so I think that really spending a good amount of time in the off season is something that people lack. And what you said is the consistency in the off season is what people lack,
Yes,
because I
100%.
think the off season is, if not more important than the on season.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
so yeah, I think that's cool that you're taking that time off and really kind of understanding the thing, because I've seen you like pictures and everything on stage like definitely have potential, like people are saying, the genetics, the taper,
Mhm.
everything, you get shredded. So I think that I think you'll break that top 10 if not more this next national show. So I'm excited for you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
but but yeah, so I guess um couple last things, like I want to know your training volume a little bit, and maybe people who are prepping, do you like the heavier sets still all the way to the end, trying to maintain your strength? Do you like trying to keep a high volume, more of like a higher rep pump workout? Kind of talk about what you like to do during the prep.
Yeah, sure thing. So during prep, I noticed that I personally lose strength very quickly. It's just that, everybody's different when it comes to prep. Some people are blessed and they're able to kind of keep their strength consistently throughout a long prep, but I wasn't, I'm not one of those people. So I tend to lose strength. Once my calories drop from base, I lose strength like that. So I've made it kind of a rule of thumb to keep the heavy weights to a minimum, especially during prep, because you really don't want to get injured during that time. So, and the quickest way to get injured is to, overload yourself with heavy weights. That's the quickest way to kind of, God forbid something happen. That's the quickest way to put you out of the game. So, I do a lot of high volume, medium rep range. You have to listen to your body too, because your body will tell you. You do what is permissible with the energy that you have, um, at that point in time. So, if you're not, if you know that if you kind of know yourself and you know that you're the person that is vulnerable to losing strength quickly, don't overload the weights don't focus on doing high weights because you know that you don't really have the strength to do that kind of weight because, you're not in the off season, you're in prep mode now. So don't, overload yourself and risk getting injured, because that's going to put you out of the game completely. Then you're not going to be able to train, do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally focus on high volume. I listen to my body. If there's a particular day I'm feeling good, I'll add a little bit of weight, but I'm always careful to not make sure that I overload the weights. Like in the off season, I eat, let's say, roughly 4,000 calories a day. So I throw on weights like it's nothing. Provided with good form and everything. But I'm much more. I'm not as lenient as I am in the off season because I know that I have the calories to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
So really listen to your body. Your body will tell you what you need to do. You have to be very in tune with that. And that takes experience. That takes practice. You have to kind of do a few preps to really know what your body responds to well in terms of training and nutrition.
Yeah. I think that training nutrition really goes into what you're kind of saying is your recovery. People recover so differently, and I noticed I actually lose strength as well when I are starting to like prep or just lean down. And I don't know if that's just a body type kind of deal or what the hell it is, but yeah, I think that listening to your body, a lot of people will go starting out prep and go balls to the wall, taking all these stims and then like lifting heavy as they can, kind of burn themselves out by the 6th, 7th, 8th week when it really starts to kick in, right? Cortisol and everything. But I think that one thing if people could take away is really knowing when to take that day off, rather than injure yourself or such, right? I mean, there's a sense of like, you got to hustle, you got to work hard. Like working hard is essential, but working smart is so much essential as well. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
that's important, dude, And one thing I will say is it's good to listen to your coach, yes, but at the end of the day, your coach isn't you. If you know that something your coach is telling you to do won't sit well with your body, then don't do it. Your coach has the information, but he's not in your body, so he doesn't know what your body responds to. Only you know that. So always always listen to your coach, but put your body as priority. Put your body priority first.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say your coach has you do a certain, for example, I can't do close grip bench because my wrists are shot. I have terrible wrists. So it's very awkward for me to lift the barbell very closely because my wrists don't bend like that. They're not very flexible. So let's say a coach had a plan for me doing a training plan or whatever, or he had me doing close grip bench. The coach is knowledgeable. Close grip bench is a great exercise. He's knowledgeable that that's a good exercise that, for me to do. But knowing my physiology, I don't have my wrists aren't going to allow me to do that. And that's going to put me in a greater position to get injured. Mm-hmm. So you have to really put your body first, and talk to your coach or, your help trainer, whoever's helping you with that. Talk to them, let them know your limitations so they can kind of tailor the diet or the training style around that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing to add to that, I completely 100% agree. And I actually had my very first coach and mentor, he used to tell me, because I would have trouble, I actually tore my ACL. I was coming back into it. And I just couldn't squat. Like my dorsiflexion was horrible. My hip mobility, everything was just all off because, I had an injury. And so I was getting mad because I'm like wanting to get that going because I know that obviously a barbell back squat is a staple, right?
Right, exactly.
But he's just like, listen, we're not power athletes here. We're bodybuilders. Like we're bodybuilding to sculpt our bodies a certain way. Put yourself in a position to not injure yourself and to activate the muscles and create hypertrophy the way you want. So he said, you don't have to squat in order to get legs and whatever. Yes, it's a staple, but I think that a lot of people will go and do wrong form thinking they're doing better things, but they're actually hurting themselves more.
Completely.
So I had to take a lot of time and on this hack squat, even the Smith machine, and just like different leg variation, leg press, until now I've really worked on dorsiflexion and hip mobility. So now I can back squat, but it took me a while, and it took me some dumb mistakes of like trying, but if I was anything I could offer for athletes is, don't skip squats to say you need to skip squats. But if you really can't do it, don't force yourself into something that that could take you out of the gym, right?
Exactly. Like I said, the number one thing is it's funny because everybody looks at bodybuilders as, these big macho guys, impervious to physical damage. But our number one fear is getting injured. Like that's the number one thing we don't want to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like you said, just be smart about it. Like you said, train smart. Hard work and dedication. That's all fine and good, but just be smart about that. Make sure that you stay within your body's limitations. Don't overdo things that you don't have to overdo, and just overall be mindful of what your body tells you, because your body will talk to you. Your body will talk to you, and it's up to you whether you listen to it or not. So.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, dude. Well, hey, last thing, I want you to just say or give some advice to all the viewers if they're going to be competing in their first show, if they're entering their very first weight loss phase, if they're just starting out in middle school. Kind of give one last piece of advice that you would give them going into their very first journey. I know, put you on the spot.
Let's see.
Out of everything you've learned.
Honestly, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but consistency, guys. Consistency. Please, that's the number one thing I can honestly, if I can drill it, if you learn nothing from this whole conversation, just learn to be consistent. That's the number one key to success in terms of nutrition, in terms of, training, in terms of sleep, in terms of, everything. Just make sure you're consistent. Make sure you have some sort of plan. A lot of people just kind of go to the gym and, shoot the shit, and they just kind of walk around, exercise, lift, and they go home, eat, go out, party, whatever, like you said, and they don't really have. They fall off and fall back, fall off and come back, fall off, come back. That really doesn't get you anywhere. You're like a hamster spinning in a wheel. You're going, but you're not really going anywhere because you're consistently kind of stopping and starting. So just be consistent with whatever you do, and honestly, that really transcends not only bodybuilding, dude, but that is one of the greatest facts of life as well. To be successful, you have to be persistent. You have to be consistent. So that would honestly be the key. Consistency is key.
Consistency is key.
I got that in my bio as well. Consistency.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for being on the AP podcast today. Awesome story. I really enjoy getting some insight of how you think about prep, how you think about certain stuff with training and nutrition. So I really do appreciate it, man.
Sure thing. Thank you, brother, for having me.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, guys, is link up Abe's Instagram and contact information. You can follow him, follow his journey, support him because he's going to be a national champ someday. So anyways, guys, thanks for viewing. Thank you, Abe, for being on the AP podcast, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.